Hey there, and welcome back to Temporary Locals.
I'm Jared.
And I'm Megan. This week, our guest is taking us to Italy. So, if you're new here, Jared and I are an adventure loving couple who share our real stories and experiences from the places that we've actually been. And sometimes we host fellow travelers who've been to places that are on our bucket list. So, whether you're planning your next adventure or you're just here for the storytelling, you are in the right place. We'd love it if you'd subscribe and join us. We put out new episodes every week. Kind of.
Kind of.
Our guest today is Anthony Ficcara. He's a realtor and also works at the Hershey Company in Pennsylvania. He didn't actually start traveling until he was 21, and he took a first trip to Las Vegas with his uncle, and he told him that once you start traveling, you're not going to stop. And he said that was true. So we are very excited to connect with Anthony today and talk about his time in Italy. But before we get into that, I think we wanted to talk about a current event.
Yeah. First of all, let me just say, for your first trip to Vegas, going with your uncle, that's a wild choice. I don't know that I'd go to Vegas with one of my uncles, at least in my situation, because I think it'd be pretty chaotic. But you know, it's that kind of place.
Yeah,
Really kind of let loose
I
and go
still haven't
wild.
been.
Yeah, yeah.
My parents went there for my 13th birthday, though. They left me.
Well, yeah, Vegas is that kind of place where you don't really take the kids.
Well,
I
yeah,
feel that way about New Orleans.
yeah,
It's like you're walking down Bourbon or you're walking down the Strip in Vegas at night, and you see people pushing baby strollers and stuff, and you're just like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing here right now?
yeah,
I mean, there's a lot of cool stuff to see in Vegas that I guess kids would enjoy, but I think most people go to Vegas for really one reason, and that's like to party, to gamble. It's a
yeah.
city of sin, right? So, um, yeah, it's just not really a kid place, I think,
I concur.
but fun place.
Yeah.
We'll do a Vegas episode because I've been to Vegas a number of times, and I don't drink or gamble or party anymore. But I think Vegas does have a lot of really cool stuff to show. That's kind of under the surface that a lot of people probably don't realize that you can do out there, along with all the stuff outside, right outside Vegas, all the nature and the hiking and a lot of the outdoor stuff that I think is really underrated.
And we also have your Fear and Loathing episode that's already out that
Yeah,
you can go check out too.
yeah, we did a Fear and Loathing episode about the road trip I've taken both ways from Vegas to LA and from LA to Vegas. So
That was a
yeah,
pretty cool episode.
yeah. Um, yeah, we're gonna talk with Anthony today, and um, I think his last name's Italian, so maybe that's why they went. We'll have to ask him that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't
We're
know.
obviously recording this beforehand.
Yeah, we are. Well, it's the intro, right?
Yeah.
It's the intro. So, um, but we're a big fan of not necessarily Italy, but like Italian accents
Yeah.
because we use them all the time. There's a Fazoli's right up the road from where we live, and so every time we pass it, we go a Fazoli's, and we do the hand
Fazoli's.
movement. So yeah, we love. I like Italian food a lot. It's not
Yeah.
my favorite food, but I do love Italian food.
I don't know. I feel like Fazoli's is probably like the equivalent of like Taco Bell to Mexican,
Well, it is,
but
but yeah,
we have fun with it.
yeah. I mean, but a nice like Italian restaurant. You know what I'm saying? Like once in a while, it really hits. It's
Yeah.
not something I feel like I could eat every day, but um, yeah, I feel like as far as Europe goes, I'm excited for this episode because despite this being like a world travel podcast, and we've done podcasts from all over the world, we don't have a lot of content really focused in Europe a lot. A lot of our content is very South American, Latin America and like Asia, specifically Southeast Asia heavy.
Yeah.
We've done a few episodes on Europe, within Europe, but um, yeah, I think it's important to kind of shed a little more light on all there is to see in Europe because there's so many countries and they're all so vastly different. And so yeah.
Yeah. Super excited to get into it. We did briefly just want to touch on the recent events at Teotihuacan.
Yeah, for anybody that might not have seen, it was in the news. I think you actually let me know about it, that it was going on. But there was a shooting that happened at the site of Teotihuacan, outside Mexico City. It was probably 2 weeks ago now. And it was a lone shooter, a lone gunman, went to the top of the pyramid where there was a bunch of tourists, and he opened fire. Uh, there's a few people injured. I know one person died. I believe it was a Canadian tourist. So it was just one of those unfortunate things that's unfortunately become too common in our world and society today. So, you know, we just thought it important to kind of bring that up and shed some light on that and say that we're like thinking about everybody that was involved in that and that unfortunately these things happen, but you know, it's a fact of life.
Yeah, and you can't be scared to go experience things.
Right.
But yeah, very well said.
Yeah.
All right, well, on a brighter note, let's get into our conversation with Anthony.
Wait, before we start,
Mm.
also 2 weekends ago, we went to the Columbia International Festival,
Oh, yes.
which is a local festival they have here in town, and it is a cultural festival. And so there's different cultures represented from all over the world. They have most countries, I'd say. They
Except for
have
Egypt.
except for Egypt, oddly enough. But there's yeah, we'll have to get a hold of whoever organizes this event because that's like, how do you not have an Egypt booth?
They were supposed to. They were on the plan. I think something happened. Somebody didn't show up. That's my assumption.
Yeah,
Don't come for
typical
me.
Egyptians, right? But yeah, it's a really cool event, and we went both days. We went all weekend, and
Mhm.
temporary locals were out in full force, handing out stickers and meeting people. And we
Yeah.
met a couple really cool people. We met some cool people from Costa Rica. We met a guy from Guatemala, our boy Hector,
Yep.
and
We talked to somebody from Tanzania too, and we got his business card.
about doing a
Um,
safari. Yeah,
yeah. So it was just a really cool event. We went to like all kinds of booths and they have different cultural clothing there and just like history artifacts, things like that. Every booth was unique. We went to the China booth and there was someone there that would write your name in Chinese. So we got one for each of us. We'll have to find somewhere to put it on our travel wall.
right.
But
Yeah,
yeah.
the different booths from representing the different countries were kind of separated by continent or by, there's like Europe, South America, Asia, and some of them kind of overlapped a bit where I was kind of confused, like, wait a second.
Yeah.
But yeah, overall it was a really cool experience. There were guys from an African country walking around on stilts.
I ran through their legs.
And the food there, I mean, they had, it was a big foodie type event, so there's food there from all over the world. So
Yeah, and that's an annual thing. I think this was their 31st annual
yeah.
event in Colombia. So yeah, it was really cool. Glad we got the opportunity to go check it out, and we had a great time.
Yeah. So with that, we'll get into the episode, and this is our conversation with Anthony Ficcara about Italy.
Hey, Anthony, welcome onto the podcast.
Hi, guys.
We're so happy to have you and glad that you could join us tonight.
I'm happy to be here.
So, you're going to talk to us about your experience in Italy. We understand that you went to Rome, Florence, and Venice. So, I always start off by asking kind of like, when did you go and how long did you stay? And then what was your first impression when you were getting there?
So we did, like you said, Rome, Florence, Venice. We did about 9 days in total. 4 of the days, the first 4 days, Rome, and then the fourth day into Florence, 4 days, and then into 2 days into Venice. Um, it was it was a great time. We flew in, took about 8 hours to get to Rome, 8.5, something like that. Um, and man, when you land, it's just like you're walking through a time machine, you know?
Hmm. Right. And
Yeah.
are you Italian? Is Ficarra an Italian name?
Yeah, actually, it's kind of funny you ask because I had like 3, 4 different people, a cab driver, a business owner, actually say, "Hey, are you from Sicily?" I'm like, "No, we're
Yeah.
American." My family though, but there's a place in Sicily
Right.
called Ficarra. And
Hmm.
there's also, I believe, a politician and an actor that's pretty well known. So they knew my last name, which is pretty cool. Um, It was me, my daughter, my wife, and my mom because, yeah, we are Italian, always wanted to go to Italy, and, finally made it a reality.
So what generation of like how far back did your grandparents come
At
over
least
or
scared I believe my great-grandmother, um, came over when she was a baby.
yeah.
It's my grandmother regrets not learning Italian, my great-grandmother knew Italian. Um I know some curse words. That's all my grandmother really knew. Um,
Right.
so yeah, it's pretty far apart, but it's always been a dream of ours to go. I have an uncle who has been, I don't know, 4 or 5 times now, and he actually might move there. He loves it. But other than him, I was the only other person in the family that went, and I couldn't leave my mom behind. You know, that's
Right.
something she had to do.
Yeah. Yeah, I was kind of in the same similar situation with Ireland because my family's Irish, and so my mom loves Ireland. She's been there a number of times, and so it was one of those things where finally, when I became an adult, I got to go, and she did the whole genealogy thing and everything. So
Cool. With different
it like
feeling.
goes back generations, and yeah,
It's knowing that that your people were from that land. It's kind of a whole different kind of feeling, you know?
right,
Yeah.
yeah, and there's like kind of a weird thing with Sicilians, right? It's like they are Italian, but I think correct me if I'm wrong, but a lot of Sicilians don't actually consider themselves Italian, or they consider
It's kinda
themselves.
how
They
it
say
is.
Italian before Italian, right?
Yeah, that is true. I mean, they're kind of their own entity. Um, they look a little different, skin tone is a little different. Um, but yeah, you're right. They're very, very proud people. I think
Mhm.
my next trip back, I am going to be back to Italy. I definitely going to be back. I think my next trip will either be Sardinia or Sicily, to kind of
Mhm.
explore that route.
Yeah,
Kind
cool.
of had to hit the big three first, though. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, kind of walk us through getting there, and what was the first area of Italy that you went to?
Yeah, sure. So we landed. We had a night flight. So we landed in the morning, like 7 a.m. ish. So our real thing we wanted to do was let's get to the hotel, let's drop our stuff off, and let's go explore until the room is ready. We didn't want any plans for that day. That's one of my biggest tips too about traveling. First day, don't have any plans. Just get acclimated,
Mhm.
get some sleep, get hydrated, eat some food. It's just, I think it's pretty important. We had a private driver pick us up from the airport, so we didn't have to worry about having to find a taxi or having language difficulties. Or we had it set up that we had a guy holding the sign up, Ficarra, we went with
Oh,
him.
one of those fancies.
Yeah, it cheap. It was like $80. It was like $70, something like that. I mean, you can do it a lot cheaper if you do the bus or if you do, but you're already exhausted. You just did a red eye. You're tired, you're
Yeah.
hungry, you're just for $80 for a family of four. I mean, I thought that was pretty reasonable. Take away all,
Mhm.
Yeah, no, totally.
yeah.
Yeah.
First thing we did was we went to a cafe, got some coffee, got some breakfast foods, and we just walked around and kind of just took it all in. You know, Again, we didn't have any real plans when the hotel called us to come get our stuff in, put the stuff in a room, and just relax for a while. The next day, we were planning on doing the Colosseum, so we wanted to make sure we were well rested for that. It was a morning tour. I'm not really a tour kind of guy. I like to kind of do things myself and self explore. The two things we did pay for a tour were the Colosseum and Vatican City, both
Mhm.
because I read the lines are extremely long to get in. So if you
Yep.
pay for the tour, you pay to skip the line. We're
Mhm.
only there for 9 days. There's so much to do in Italy. I don't want to spend 3 hours waiting to get into something I'm going to spend hours in, and then the day's gone.
That's a
Right.
great tip.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I would definitely
Yeah.
pay to skip the line.
Yeah, and as far as the tour guide thing, I'm not a big fan of tour guides either, but I will say that in a place like in Rome and going to see sites like the Colosseum, or in like Egypt, for example, going,
Egypt for
anywhere in
sure.
Egypt, having a tour guide is so valuable because no matter how much you may think you know about ancient civilizations and things like that, I'm very big into that stuff. These tour guides are such experts, and they can tell you things that you never knew, or you would never know by looking at these things. So I don't necessarily look down on tour guides or anything for
Me
like
neither.
ancient sites
No,
like
it's
that.
no, that they're well worth it. You'll learn a lot. They keep you captivated. If you have young children with you, we had a 9-year-old daughter with us. If they're captivating, it really helps. 'Cause sometimes a 9-year-old's attention span can kind of, be a little on the
Mhm.
lighter side. So can mine. So it's nice to have somebody that's engaging, but also informative. And I think that both of the guys that we had really, really were. The one we
Yeah.
had was actually from Italy. Another one was actually a British woman who'd just been living in Italy for a long time, and she was actually phenomenal. She was great. Um, but when we did the Colosseum, we didn't just do the main arena. we paid to go underneath, so you got to
Mhm.
see the behind the scenes where they would put the either the fighters and or the animals on the platforms, and you can see the part where there's a wheel that 4 slaves will turn in order to raise the platform up to the fighting arena. It was
Mhm.
pretty we got to see, like, behind the scenes and all of that and, what it really looked like and the work that was put in. I mean, you just stand there and just look around, you're like, "Wow, 75,000 people watched."
Yeah.
Probably die. I mean, that's pretty
Yeah.
intense.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I think it's really interesting. Because I know that was that considered like a VIP tour? Because I know they do regular tours of the Colosseum, but to actually go under to the tunnels underneath, is that considered that's like an extra
It
tour,
is.
right?
I don't remember what the amount of people that go into the Colosseum a day is, but it's in the thousands, and the underground, I think, is 400 a day.
Right. Yep.
But the arena itself is thousands. So it's yeah, it is a different type of thing. It is, but it's worth doing. It's pretty neat under there. It's kind of its own little city. So and it's got a lot of cool details that you would miss out on, and you get to see the rest after. So it's not like you miss out on
Mhm.
anything else, and you still see the Palatine Hill, the Roman Forum, all on that one tour, um, without having to wait in the line for 3+ hours.
Right. Yeah, that's a good tip. Use tours to your advantage in that way. That's another thing
Absolutely,
about like flying into certain countries. It's like certain countries are really difficult to get through that immigration process and through to the country. So, I mean, a lot of tour guides will actually like help you navigate that process a little bit, cut
yeah,
lines, go through immigration.
yeah, they do. Also, they
Yeah.
can recommend good restaurants for you. I'm a foodie,
Yeah. Yeah.
they can give a lot of tips outside of what they're showing you.
Right. Yeah. Well, and like you said, when it's somebody that's from there and it's a local as your guide, it's like they have a certain pride about it where they're like excited to show you as opposed to
Very.
maybe somebody that's not necessarily from there that doesn't have any really like connection to it. You see that in a lot of places. I mean, Egypt's just another example where like if you have an Egyptian tour guide, like they're proud of like they're proud to show you these things, because it's like
Yeah, they
it's where they're
dedicate their
from.
life to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. They're very
Yeah.
excited. They're very excited about what they have to say and,
Mhm.
show.
I do wanna talk about the food. You mentioned when you first got there, you kinda had some breakfast and some pastries, I think is what you said.
Yeah,
I've heard, that the food in Italy is, like, awesome, and you can eat so much pasta and not feel kinda weighed down like we
it's
do here in the States. Did you experience that?
it's very, very true. I don't know if it's different grain or different what it is, but, no, it's very true. If you just look around too, you can see people look healthier. You can tell it's not a huge gym culture there. You don't see guys that are big and bulky. But everyone's relatively, in decent shape. I mean, obviously they're walking a lot too. It's a very walkable place. Um,
Mhm.
but I think a big thing is the food. The food's fresher. It's fresher ingredients. It's their breakfasts aren't super sugary. Ours are, and their portion size is different. It's just a whole different kind of thing. The pastries are great. They're awesome. They have kind of like they're pretty sweet. They are pretty sweet, but they're on the smaller side, and you have it with your cappuccino. The cappuccino is pretty small, and anytime after 11 a.m., they kind of look at you sideways if you ask for a cappuccino or a latte or
Mhm.
that nature. After 11 a.m., they basically it's just espresso shots. You can get a single or a double. If you ask for a triple or quadruple, they're gonna look at you real weird. Because for them, that's not a
Mhm.
thing. They do single or double, mostly single. Yeah, un caffè per favore is basically kind of the coffee. And if you just say coffee, they just assume you mean espresso. But yeah, it's in Rome and Florence. If you just close your eyes, spin around, and land somewhere, you're in a restaurant. It's going to be amazing. Venice, I found actually you kind of have to seek it out. It's not as apparent, but when the food was good, it was very good. But whereas in Rome and Florence, man, it was pretty much everywhere. I would avoid anywhere near any type of like the Colosseum, for example. If there's a
Mhm.
restaurant right across from it, it's probably not going to be the greatest because they know there's people coming there all day. They don't have to put the effort into making quality food. You know,
Right.
if you see a restaurant and it has pictures of the food, or if it has displays of fake food of what their food looks like, it's probably not good. It's for tourists. If you sit down in a restaurant and you are giving a menu that has 7 pages to it, it's probably not the greatest. They pride themselves on having fresh ingredients for fresh food. If they have a 5-page menu, it's frozen. There's no way to keep that
Right.
much food, you know what I mean, for that long. A lot of the great places you're eating have a pretty short list. Um, but what
Mhm.
they do very well.
Yeah, that's a good culinary tip. And yeah, we wanted to talk to you especially about the food. I think Italy is known as one of those real foodie destinations, despite it kind of being in Europe. And I don't think Europe overall is really known for like the best food in the world, but Italy's definitely one of those places a lot of people go to, and it's definitely a foodie place. So, but how different was the food from Rome to Florence to Venice? I mean, was the food different, or was it all kind of just Italian food?
So I personally didn't see a huge difference. Now Venice, that's not true. Venice has a lot of seafood. I'm not a seafood guy. I want to be one. I'm just not. Um, I want to be, I really do, I just not my thing. There is definitely a lot more seafood in Venice, so if you go to fine dining there or anything that's a little more upscale, that's mostly what they have. Still a lot of, basic Italian foods, staples, they still have that too. Um, but Rome and Florence were, I thought, pretty similar, um, but not quite with Venice. Um I actually went to this one place called the Armando al Pantheon, and it was across from the Pantheon, which goes against my tip, but this is an
Mhm.
exception. Um, what's his name? Tucci? You know what I'm talking about? Stanley
Yeah,
Tucci?
Stanley
Um,
Tucci. Yep.
Yes, yeah, yeah. He actually recommended the spot, and it's y- y- so 30 days prior to the day that you want the reservation is when you have to reserve it, and basically tables go like that. I mean, you got to be 30 days on the dot because you can't reserve it any closer than 30 days. I mean, any farther out than 30 days. Excuse me. And so I waited and I waited and I got it. There's like probably 13 tables, 14 tables in there, something like that. Um, and it's just a great experience. I had a phenomenal carbonara. I fell in love with it. Um, it's just cool, man. Like here, when you eat, you feel pressure to leave after 45 minutes, an hour, or you start feeling bad. You start feeling guilty. If you're hanging out with
Mhm.
friends and you're like talking, you haven't seen somebody for a long time, you're drinking wine together or coffee, whatever it may be, you kind of feel guilty. It's like, I'm kind of taking this guy's time up. It is not like that in Italy at all. They're encouraging you to stay. You have to ask for the bill. They're not going to give it to you. You got to ask for that bill. Um,
Yeah.
they don't
It's
come
like a
and ask you.
slower
Sorry.
I was saying it's like a slower, kinda slow-paced dinner, like,
Way
really
slow.
enjoy your time, spend the time.
I mean, 2.5, 3 hours is definitely not unheard of. A group of people just meeting and talking and drinking and laughing, and I love it. I love the way they look at it. Um, and you don't really tip there. It's not really a tip-based culture. They do have a coperto. The coperto is basically, I would essentially call it a sitting fee. So they're charging you 1 to 5. I've noticed 1 to 3 really euros per person. And that basically pays for the seat, it pays for your utensils you use, the plates and all that. It's kind of a little fee they add. And
Mhm.
water's not free. That's a big thing because here water is free. If you ask for water there, they're going to ask you if you want still or frizzante. And it comes out in glass containers. Still is this like the regular water here. Frizzante is just bubbly water. It's phenomenal. It's good too. I'm still buying it. I went to Wise today and bought 3 bottles of it because I got I
Yeah.
want this little kick now. I can drink regular water, but it's yeah, it's cool. It's just it's a very layered type of meal. Um, Very enjoyable. I greatly prefer the dining experience there than I do here. I love our food here. I love our restaurants. Um,
Mhm.
but
Sure.
it's a different kind of thing. It's table turning. I served before, and I was a server before.
Right.
Table turning. It's what it is.
Yeah.
It's not that way there.
Yeah, it's less about like let's eat and go, but like let's take our time eating our food and
Yes.
enjoying the company that we're with.
Yes.
Yeah, I like that.
The only kind of go there is if you're at a cafe and you want coffee. If you order a coffee, which is an espresso, they'll give you the little cup, and then you take it, you drink it, you put it down, and you leave. If you
Like
sit
a
down,
bar.
you get charged a Caperto. So that's the
Right.
only type of it, kind of, which is kind of cool. They give it to you, you
Yeah.
sip, you leave. Um, but when it comes to dining, it's an experience, not just you can cook at home. You can, it's supposed to be an experience.
Yeah, and I,
Yeah.
I think that is kind of the difference between cultures is that a lot of places like that, they do view, dinner or eating as like an experience, and that's what it is. And I've heard
Yes.
that about other places in the world, and I've specifically in like Southeast Asia, they won't bring you the check. You have to ask for it.
I
And
found
there are
that out.
people from the States will go there and they think that like they're being rude by not bringing you the check, but it's like, no, you're being like they're actually being nice and you're being rude by like expect you have to ask for the check. They're not trying to bother you and like push you out the door.
Well, we're taking our cultural norms and putting them there, and you
Right.
have to stop yourself. It has to be a conscious effort because you're just so used to where we are. And so you got to stop judging where you are according to your norms.
Right.
My wife and I, the first time we dined out in Bangkok, we found that out too. We're like, is this check coming? Like, what are we waiting for? And we were getting
Yeah.
like, well, and I finally got up and I asked for it and they gave it to me immediately. And then we looked it up. That's what I did. That's right. I Googled it on my phone. And it was like, all right, how do you get the check in Thailand? That's what it says. They're not going to give it to you. You know,
Right.
it's
Yeah.
similar, not quite to that level, but it's very similar in Italy as well. They're not
Mhm.
gonna they're not gonna bring you a check unless you ask for it. And a lot of
Right.
time,
Yeah.
mostly in dinner, um, at the give you some complimentary of like limoncello, little shots of limoncello, which is pretty cool. Um, and they finish you off with coffee most times too, not free. But the limoncello is typically free.
Mhm.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a that's like a dessert afterwards?
Yeah, it's a dessert liqueur. So it's like it's a drink, it's alcohol, but it's supposed to like cleanse the palate, help with digestion, that kind of thing. Um,
Mhm.
and they make a lot of it there. So I'm assuming it's probably pretty cheap for them to give out, you know?
Yeah, very cool. You mentioned the restaurant, and I forgot the name of the restaurant, but the one that Stanley Tucci you said recommended. You
Armando,
had to schedule that
I
30
had
30 days out?
30 days out. They will 30 days prior to when you want is when they'll open up reservations for that day. So if you're not on, and remember, you have to, yep, there's a time difference. I think it's 6 hours. So you remember that time difference in your head too. So you have to make sure that you're on the ball with it. Um, because it's tough to get. And honestly, it's worth it. I'm a go with the flow kind of guy, but I know in a place like Italy that's heavily trafficked by tourists, you have to at least plan something. You have to, you know.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things I want to do is let's go to a really really good restaurant. And we didn't leave disappointed at all. I mean, it was one of my favorite meals. My wife, what did she get? It was a ravioli with pistachio inside of it.
Mm.
I know. And, it
Yeah, makes
was
me hungry.
my god, it was incredible. It was a different restaurant. It was not at that location. That was one of my favorite things I tried as well. Um, One thing I will also say about food, I believe this is actually in Florence. Don't quote me. I think it was Florence though. We ordered and it was probably the most expensive thing I ordered in Italy, a Florentine steak, and, I looked it up,
Mm.
later on, and it's pretty normal. It comes out pretty rare. I mean, it's good, but you can only eat so much of it because we even said, "Can you cook it medium rare?" Still came out rare. Um,
Yeah.
so a heads up on that. If you don't like your steak on the rare side, don't order a Florentine steak. I mean, it was still it looked the presentability was 10 out of 10. The taste was great. I just prefer it a little more cooked than that, you know? Um, Very good still, and I'm glad I got it. Just be warned though, it's gonna come out rare.
Mhm.
Yeah, another good tip.
So, kind of sticking with Rome for a moment, did
Yeah, sure.
you actually go into Vatican City? Did you visit the Vatican?
So that was the third day. The third day, and the other tour that we took was Vatican City, which I don't know if you're aware, it's its own entity. So it's kind of its own little. I think it's the smallest country. Um,
Yeah,
it's got
that
less
was
than.
gonna be that was gonna be one of my questions. I know it is considered technically its own country. I think they have their own, magistrate, their own government, and I believe police force. Did you to enter the Vatican? You didn't have to go through any sort of border checkpoint or anything like that, though, right?
Well, no, but there is security. You do put your bag or whatever you have. It's well, you can't have a bag like a backpack. If you have like a handbag or like some kind of small bag, you got to put it through some machines. And you walk through a metal detector. See, there is some security measures, but nothing, nothing crazy. You do present your passport, but you present your passport everywhere in Italy. So even if you're going to the Colosseum, you present your passport. Or at least a picture of it, something. Um, but yeah, it wasn't too crazy to get in. Again, pay to skip the line. That's because that line was insane. The line for the Vatican City was insane. Um,
Mhm.
when we went Easter weekend. So some things were closed. I think it was the St. Mark's Basilica. That's what it was. It was closed that day. We did go see the Sistine Chapel. And man, it is unbelievable. It's just treasure after treasure after treasure, art after art after art. I mean, you can walk in there for hours and hours. Um, we had a 9-year-old, so we couldn't do too much, but we were still there for like 4 hours, I'd say. She's towards the end, she's getting a little antsy. That was the only time she got antsy in all Italy. So I mean, she did pretty
Well,
good.
Yeah.
that's good.
Yeah, but you're in a museum for that long. It was alive for me. Um,
Sure.
but wow, I mean, the amount of money, the amount of just that all of that must be worth. I mean, it's priceless. It's crazy. I would definitely recommend the Sistine Chapel to anybody who's interested in art at all. And I'm not a huge art guy, and I still had a great time. Um,
Yeah.
recommend. I would have loved to see St. Mark's Basilica as well. But it's Italy's a very religious type of place, So Easter weekend, there's gonna be a lot of closing, or even just Sundays in general. You know, um,
Mhm.
with
Were
Catholicism.
all the basilicas were they all closed? I mean, I know there's, like, St. Peter's, right?
So I tried to go. Where was it? There was something I think I have written down somewhere. There was actually a place in what was it? What was it? I don't recall what exactly else was closed. I had booked something in Florence, and we weren't actually. No, it was Rome. It was the Pantheon by the restaurant I said about. That's what it was. The Pantheon. We couldn't get in. We booked it. We paid. It was very cheap. It was like $6 per person. It was very cheap, but they wouldn't let us in. They closed early that day for the weekend for the Sunday. Um, so that was closed as well. We couldn't get into that either. Um,
Yeah.
but
Bummer.
Well, going back to the Vatican, how busy, you said the Vatican was very
very,
busy to get into. How busy was the Sistine Chapel specifically?
very. I mean, there's people
Yeah.
everywhere. It's also nice to have that tour guide because she kind of made sure that we were at where we needed to be to see the coolest things. She kind of pushed our way into some situations, whereas we might have been a little more hesitant to do that ourselves. Um,
Mhm.
he was not hesitant at all. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, it was very busy. Um, Rome in general is a pretty busy place. Um, we stayed in the Monte neighborhood. I recommend Monte. Monte is a little less touristy, um, and it's still walkable to all the big locations, the Colosseum and all that. You can just walk to it. Anything within like 20 minutes or so. Um,
Mhm.
the other neighborhood, I think, was called the Trastevere. Um, we went to that neighborhood as well. If I would go back, I might actually stay there. With very like a lot of nice cafes, a lot of nice restaurants, a lot of upscale like cocktail bars, and all cobblestone streets. It was just gorgeous. It was you were walking through like a fairy tale. Everything was cobblestone. You know,
Yeah.
um, it was a cool neighborhood. Um,
Yeah, it's one of those cities that's, like, ancient but modern, and it's a odd
so
mix, but
weird.
it works, yeah.
Yeah, listen, man. You go into a building, it's like this building, which is average here. is multiple times our country's age. I mean,
Right.
that's crazy. You know, that's
Yeah.
crazy. It's just normal for them, you know? It's normal.
Yeah. 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 It's a beauty that Europe has that we don't really appreciate unless you go and see these things. You know.
Yeah. We don't have that ancient side to us. We don't have the, at least not in our culture here, you know?
Yeah.
We're new. We're newborns still.
Yeah. Yeah. We go see sites here that are from like the 1800s or maybe even the 1700s, and we're like, oh my god, it's so old. And then we go
Uh-huh.
to other places in the world, and we're talking, you know, 1,000 years old or
Housing.
2,500 years old. You
Yeah,
know.
like the Colosseum. I mean, it's so
Yeah.
old. It's you know, it still could fit 70,000 people, 75,000 people, whatever it was. I mean, it was massive. You know, massive.
Hmm.
Built that long ago. I mean, that's just for me, it's unreal. It's just like my mind. I was seeing what I was seeing, but my mind could not wrap around it. You know what I mean? Like I heard the words, but I'm like, wow, like how is that even possible? You know?
Yeah. So, what about the Trevi Fountain? Did you guys visit that?
Oh, yeah. So they just instituted something within the last, I think, maybe 6 months or so. They charge you to get up close and personal now with the Trevi Fountain. You got to get a time
Mhm.
slot. So no, we didn't actually go to, but we stood by and saw it. We saw it from a little bit of far away, but we did see it. I had pictures of it. We weren't that far off. It was pretty close, but you have to pay to actually go down to it. Um,
Yeah. You think did they do that maybe because of people trying to take the coins out of it, or I mean,
Crowd control. It was all crowd
yeah,
control. Just too many people, and it was just too much, and so they decided, "Hey, let's make a couple dollars off this, and let's get the crowd a little more limited." And I get it; it makes sense. It's just for me, uh, I don't like scheduling to begin with. I just want to I just want to go with the flow, and it was just one more thing that I would have to like lock in. So I was like, "All right, let's just walk back and see it. That's good enough for me." You know, it was really cool though. It was really cool.
yeah,
I don't regret not getting that time slot at all. Um, but I am glad that I saw it.
yeah, yeah, and kind of going back to like how old some of these places are. The Trevi Fountain, the aqueduct that feeds that fountain is actually the same aqueduct that fed ancient Rome back in ancient Rome.
It's so
They
cool.
still use the same water systems that they used back then, and
Yeah,
everybody attributes, plumbing and the use of aqueducts and stuff to ancient Rome, although they kind of predate ancient Rome. But yeah, I mean that's just kind of cool that like they still kind of use those same water systems.
yeah, yeah. It is pretty cool. Um, they have all these like really cool fountains all everywhere, and um, yeah, it's cool. I like it.
All right, well, let's get into Florence. So, is that the order that you went in? Rome, Florence, and
Yes.
Venice?
Yeah, so we use
Okay.
the Italo high-speed train. I wanna say it goes up to, like, 198 miles per hour. Don't quote me. Um,
They
but
couldn't
it
just get those extra 2 miles per hour.
yeah, right? I know, right? It's so close, so close. Um, but cool experience, man. You get on there, it's so much more comfortable than a plane. You only need to get there 15, 20 minutes ahead of time. The platforms are very easy to find. You don't have to go through security, so you just walk in. It'll tell you on the sign where your train is going to be 15 minutes before you leave, which I don't like that, which was a little sooner than that. But it ends up being you have plenty of time. It just feels like you don't because you're not familiar with it, you know? So as soon as 15, 14 minutes before your departure, it'll pop up on the screen. You go to the platform, you hop on. The seats are very comfortable. They bring beverages, complimentary coffee, soda, water. And they bring a couple snacks. You have your own little personal trash can. And it's nice. You have a Wi-Fi in there. Took about an hour and a half, I think, to get from Rome to Florence, something like that. Yeah, something I wish I would have done was I wish I would have arranged some kind of transport. When you get off of the station in Florence, kind of bumpy everywhere. So if you have luggage, it's kind of hard to get around with it. We ended up
Like the
getting
cobblestone, or
yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, and it also it's just, there's trains that run through it, like monorails type of things. So you have to walk over those
oh,
too, and it can be a lot. So I ended up getting an Uber, and, they're pricey because
Mhm.
all the Ubers there are pretty pricey in Florence. So I kinda wish I would have arranged some kind of, situation to get to my hotel from the train station. But when we got to the hotel, beautiful. All steps. I mean, it was old, very, very. I think it was like 1500s. It was built 1400, something like that. Um, the elevator is tiny. I mean, it's so small.
It's
Sketchy.
for Italians.
Yeah, it's so crazy how small those little things are. But you have your little key. You open the door with. There's no electric doors anywhere there.
Did they have Wi-Fi?
They no, they did not. I don't think
Man,
they.
that's a real hotel, huh?
Yeah, yeah. Okay, there was Wi-Fi. Sorry, there was Wi-Fi there at the hotel. But yeah, it was in a really cool location, great neighborhood, everything walkable. That was what, dude. Florence is just you just walk around and you cross the bridges, and it's gorgeous.
Yeah.
It's gorgeous.
What's the vibe like compared to Rome?
Less busy.
Mhm.
I enjoyed it more. Honestly, I enjoyed it more. It's less still busy, but less busy. Even though there's a laid back culture in general in Italy, it had more so of the laid back culture than Rome did. I mean, Rome's the New York City of Italy, so it's going to be, it's
Right.
not. Florence was a little more leisurely. Um, and I didn't feel like I had to go see this and go see that. We just explored, that's mostly what we did. We
Yeah, like
explored. We
go at
shopped.
your own pace.
Yes,
Mhm.
yes. We shopped. There's a lot of shopping there. That's where you should get your leather good. If you like leather, if you want leather, that's a really good spot. My mom and I actually stopped at I don't know how to say it in Italian. It's in Italian. I'll just say it in English. It's the School of Leather. So it's actually the school where they're apprenticing at, and you can buy all their goods there. It helps support them. It's very legitimate. And they'll give the emblem. Unfortunately, it was the day after Easter when I went there, so they didn't have anybody to do my emblem. I got a wallet. My mission of going to Florence was a leather jacket. That's what I wanted.
Yeah.
My wife ended up finding a leather jacket that she loved, and I'm like, I can't afford two leather jackets, so you can have the jacket, and I'll go with the wallet. I was happy with the. So next time I go to Italy, I'll get a leather jacket. But it's just the amount of leather goods stores is crazy. Um, just look into it before you purchase. There's a lot of fakes. There's a lot of, or if it's not fake, it's just uh not as well done. You'll see a big difference in quality of leather in comparison to like factory made just just junk, I guess you could call it. It's gonna fall apart in a few years. A good leather is gonna last you decades, a couple decades.
Mhm.
And they charge you for it. It's not cheap, so you wanna make sure you're getting something genuine. And if you get it from somebody that has their own business, you're supporting a family, it's pretty cool.
How much does a leather jacket run?
It really depends. If you get from a reputable source on the cheaper end of things, you get a lambskin, and you get a cheaper end of things, it's like 300 euros or so. 250, 300 euros. That's on the cheaper end. It's not gonna be as good as quality, as good as stitching. If you get really crazy quality, you can look at the $4,000 US. Um,
Mhm.
the leather jacket that my wife got was from a place called Benhart. The owner is a character, man. He's one of the coolest people I've ever met in my life. Almost looked like Lenny Kravitz. He had a huge energy, super cool. But yeah, it was called Benhart's, and I think I don't remember the euro amount, but it was $800 US. It came out to be for her leather jacket. Um, it's gorgeous on her. Love it. And it's gonna last so long. It looks so good. It was
Well, if
Yeah.
worth
we
it.
ever go to Italy, I call the jacket.
Yeah, dude, I
You
should
can
have
get a
did that,
wallet.
man. I should have did get her the wallet.
I mean, that's marriage though, right? It's a
Yeah.
sacrifice.
Yeah, it is.
Well, so how was the experience like buying the leather jacket? Was it like just like you kind of go in and you pick it out, or was it kind of like a hangout, or what was
Kind
that
of by
like?
hanging out. So a lot of the places that I went, because I visited many before I even considered anything. Um, they wanted to make sure that you were in love with what they are selling you. They don't want to sell you a jacket. They want to sell you an experience. And that's in their words.
Mhm.
They want you to try it on. They want you to feel like a new person. They want you to feel like you put it on and you feel different. You know? Um, they want you to leave like you just made the best purchase ever. They take very, very, very high pride in their work. You know, I like I said, I visited many of them, and none, most of them weren't pushy at all. Now, some are. The ones you want to go to aren't very pushy though. You know, they'll come up and help you. They're attentive. You know,
Mhm.
the good ones will look at you, size you up in 0.2 seconds, try a 48 on, and it's perfect. Like, how'd you know? You know, 'cause I've been doing this 30 years or whatever. You know,
Yeah.
but it was a really cool experience. I didn't feel like I was at a used car lot. You know,
Yeah.
it was
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Florence, known for leather goods, and also it's where the piano was invented. If anybody didn't
Oh, I
know.
didn't know that. I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
that's where the piano was invented in
That's pretty
Florence.
cool. There was a you know what? So the hotel we had, I actually meant to say this and I forgot. It faced the Duomo. The Duomo is that big, big dome there. Um, and it faced our like our window faces our the Duomo. And on Easter morning, I believe Easter morning, they had a big organ or piano, whatever it was, playing, and they had a little parade out there, and they would that organ or the piano, whatever it was, would shoot off fireworks at the end. It's pretty cool. We saw it from our window. It got real smoky in there. It got real smoky. But it was still cool to see. So yeah, maybe that was part of that. I don't know. I think Pope Leo might have been there as well. I think he was. So basically, from our window, the Pope is right there. People were. I mean, you saw probably 1,000 people out there, and we're just up there chilling on the window, looking down. It was nice. Um,
Yeah.
Mhm.
Did you know that parade was gonna be there, or was that kind of a
I
surprise?
did not
Pleasant
know at all.
surprise?
It was a surprise for us. It was an unpleasant surprise for my daughter that got woken up in the morning with a bunch of fireworks and yelling and parading. She didn't yeah, she didn't know what was going on. But it was cool to see. And then I believe the next day is when we climbed the Duomo. I think it's like 460 odd steps. Pretty cool because you can see the divots in the steps from all the time the Pope and everybody else climbed the stairs over the centuries. And when you get to the top, which is probably a 15-minute climb or so. It's just you see all of the city, and it is incredible. I mean, all of them have the same roofs, so it's everything looks pretty good together, and it's just wow. You see the countryside, you see the city, you see everything. You're pretty high up. I don't know how many
Mhm.
feet 460 something steps are, but pretty decent, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was cool to see. I would 100% recommend anybody to get the pass to climb the Duomo. You do have to get a time slot though. When you get the passes, you can get a pass just for that, or you can get a pass to where you get to see this a museum and a few other things. Um, the bell tower, uh, and I think it's called the Giotto Bell Tower. And then the Duomo itself, worth it. It's worth it. I don't think it was very expensive. But it was one of my favorite experiences. It was my favorite experience, I think, in Florence was climbing and just seeing the whole city from the top.
Right.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah, so it sounds like a real change of pace from Rome, which is very loud, busy, chaotic, a lot to do and see, but it seems like Florence is a lot more laid back, more relaxing.
It is if you want Rome to match Florence's, vibe a little more, and it still won't stay there a little longer than you need. That way you're not
Mhm.
as you know? But there's still, man, I was there for 4 days and I could have there's so much to see, you know, in Rome. So it's even if you're there for a while, it's never gonna match Florence. But yeah, I agree. The pace was slower.
Right.
What about the sunsets? Did you get any good sunsets there?
Oh,
Or sunrises
yeah.
if you're an
So
early riser?
Florence has what's it called? I've wrote it down. It's Ponte Vecchia, so it's like a shopping area. And to get there, you cross these bridges that crosses the river. And walking along the river is just amazing. It's all this cobblestone. You're right next to the river. You see the boats. Pretty cool. But when you cross those bridges, the sunset is just wow. And everyone knows it because everybody is trying to get to that bridge too, you know? Well, there's multiple. But yeah, the sunsets were just gorgeous, especially over that city. Yeah, we actually scheduled the climb to the Duomo to kinda go, hand in hand with the sunset, so we got to see a partial sunset up there. We had to start going down before the full sunset, but we saw a good bit of it. It was cool.
No, that's awesome.
Yeah, yeah, it was nice. And then the following day, I believe, we did something called Pasta Mania. You go in, and we did it mostly for our daughter, but I ended up enjoying it probably just as much or more than she did. My mom had a great time doing it. My wife had a great time. But you go in there and they teach you how to make your own pasta and ravioli, and you make your own, and then at the end, they combine it with the sauce that they made, and you get to eat your own dinner. They have dessert, they
Wow.
have wine, you get to have wine with all of it, you know. You're there for probably 2 plus hours, 3 hours maybe, um, 2.5, but it was so cool. Yeah, it was really cool. The person who led it was actually from somewhere in the US. I believe she was American, but she was living in Italy for 17 years at that point. And it was a pretty small group. There might have been 10 of us, 12 of us tops. It was really cool. Called Pasta Mania. I highly, highly suggest it. I did not think I was going to like it as much as I did. And if you have children, they will have a great time.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. Is that just something that's, like, specific to Florence, or is that kind of like
You can
a,
probably do
theme?
that. You can probably do that in a lot of Italy. I just heard a lot of suggestions on subreddits for Florence. Um, So I figured that'd be a good place to do it. Plus, I knew that we just mostly wanted to experience Florence, so I didn't have we had the time to do something like that, without having to worry, oh, what are we missing out on? You're not missing out on anything in Florence. And I think some good advice, not just for Florence, but for Italy in general. Something my uncle actually told me was when you go there, there's going to be a lot, and just don't try to worry about what you're missing out on. Try to experience the moment that you're in, because that's what Italy is about. It's experiencing the
Mhm.
moment that you're in with the people that are
Right.
around you, with the memories that you're making. You can go to Italy 1,000 times. You can go to Italy. I can go to Italy in 3 years from now, 5 years from now. I can go back. I can't go back to that moment though. So there's so much you're gonna miss out on something. Stop worrying about that and just focus on what's in front of you. Italy is very much about that. That's where the food culture comes from, but Italy is very much about that in general. And someone like me, I'm not always good at that kind of thing. So I heeded his advice and I'm glad that I did.
Yeah, wise words, good advice.
Yeah,
I mean,
I
good advice for Italy, but also just in general too. I
just in
mean,
general, for sure. But Italy is very much about that. And I think that's why they have a slower, I'm sorry, a slower type of lifestyle. They live longer than we do too, so maybe there's something to that. Could be the wine, or it could be that. I don't know.
It's all the pasta.
Hey, it might be, man. I mean, yeah, it might
It's all
be.
that healthy pasta they eat.
Yeah, yeah.
I eat pasta here. Man, we have spaghetti or something, I feel like I'm dying.
yeah, we
Man, me
did
too.
just
I,
have some.
I didn't feel that way at all there. I did not feel that way at all. Not even a little bit.
Yeah.
Not even a little bit. Yeah. And another thing too, I mentioned wine. If you're getting wine there, stick with the house. Stick with the house wine. You're paying, I don't know, 13, 14, 15, 16 euros for a bottle of red. And it's phenomenal. We paid extra like 45 at like that Armando El Pantheon place. We paid 45 or 48 euros for a bottle. It was good, but the house wine it was just as good or better, and it was half the price, third of the price. They do such a great time with, I mean, it's such a great job with the wine there. Get the house wine. If I had another day in Florence, I would actually want to go see some kind of vineyard.
Mhm.
They have trips, so they'll pick you up. Um, Trains are kind of hard to get around there when it comes to going to a vineyard. And private drivers are extremely expensive to go in Florence for a day to go to a vineyard. I mean, like $800. It's crazy.
Jeez.
Or more, or more. Yeah, or more. So
Wow.
it's just not. So if you go and get a group, it's relatively cheap. Anywhere from $30 to 200 per person. It depends on what you're doing, but you can get them as cheap as $30 a person, and it's transportation.
Man,
Like,
you could get a leather jacket for the price that it costs you to get a driver.
dude, right? And that's only a couple. That's only a few hours. That leather jacket is going to last you 20 years.
Yeah,
Mm.
if it's
At
made
least that's
right,
what they're
right?
telling me. At least that's what they're telling me.
Alright, so, let's go to Venice.
Yeah,
Take
sure.
us to Venice.
Yeah, sure. So it's just wow, insane. So we took another Italo train. Okay, we got an Uber to pick us up from our hotel again, take us to the train station. Hopped on the train. 2 hours and some change to get to Venice from there. Um, Kind of cool because as you're approaching Venice, you're above the water. I mean, it's pretty cool. And then when you get off of the train into the train station, it's just it's different. It's all water, you know? So what we did was and I don't regret it. It wasn't the cheapest thing to do for us. Um, but for having a daughter, for being a first time, for having my mom who doesn't really love walking around everywhere, to make it easier, we had scheduled a private boat to pick us up from the train station. Little scam alert. When you're walking from the train station to wherever you're going, the pier, wherever you're going to be going, there's going to be guys walking around say that they act like they know who you are and that they're going to help you with your bags. Okay, do not give them your
Mhm,
bag. They're going to take your bags and then they're going to follow you wherever you go, and then they're going to ask you for money, demand money
mhm.
pretty aggressively. Um, I didn't know that, um, but I sensed it. I said, "No, man, we're okay, we're good." And I googled it later, and it's a scam. It is a thing. So be aware of that.
Wow.
Yeah, be aware of that. I had my spidey senses were tingling, and it was correct. It was a scam. But anyway, folks, the boat's right there. They send you a message. Here's where we'll be. You can click on the map and you just follow the map, and it takes you right to where the boat is. Um, Gorgeous, gorgeous boat. Enough to fit probably 7, 8 people. If you have a bunch of bags though, 5 or 6, gotta put your bags on. We all jump in and it takes off, and wow, you go from the sea into the canals, and he brought us right into the hotel and dropped us off literally catty corner to our hotel. It was really cool. It was a really cool experience. $100, I think it was 80 or $100. It was a half hour, 20, maybe a 15 or 20-minute ride. And I think it cost me somewhere between 80 and 100 US for the four of us. And wow,
Now,
man,
was this a gondola or was this a motorized boat?
motorized boat. It was a motor boat, very fancy looking. It had nice tan seats, very modern, and it was
Right.
it was upscale looking. You know, it was like a limo of boats. It was cool. Um, we did do the gondola. I'll get to that. We did do a gondola too.
Yeah, because that's what I picture when I think of Venice. I think of I think of the gondola, and I
Yep.
think of them rowing it. Do they actually have motorized boats within the city?
They, so they have I want to say there's something called Vispora, and then they have taxis, buses. And then they have these private taxi boats, which is the one I took, and then they have gondolas. So you don't want to take a gondola to the open sea somewhere. You don't want to it's just too wavy, and it'll
Right,
take way 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 too long.
right.
So some of these are set. So it depends on what your need is what you should go on. So if you don't mind, if you want to do the bus, like basically it's the bus. Um, it's a lot cheaper. It's probably $15 per person, $10 per person to get somewhere. You're on their time rather than them being on yours. And being a first timer, I don't want that extra pressure. I don't want that extra stress. Um, you have to go to another location and you're cramped in with a bunch of people. If you don't have luggage, that's different. But if you have luggage and you're cramped in with people, that's hard. That's why
Mhm,
we decided not to go that route. If it was just me and my wife, we probably would have did that. But with my mom and her daughter as well, we decided to go the private boat route. Um, but uh, but yeah, it's a gorgeous, gorgeous place. I honestly, I think aesthetically, it might have been my favorite. Florence was my favorite out of the 3 in general. I think
mhm.
aesthetically, though, Venice was my favorite to just look at and just wow.
Yeah, it's
It
very
was
picturesque for sure. Yeah,
absolutely. I heard that in the summertime it gets a little smelly because of the canal water.
right. Yeah,
When we were there, it wasn't that bad. You can smell it a little. It wasn't bad, but when I was there in Italy, it was in the 70s and upper 60s most of the time. So it wasn't too hot. So we didn't really smell
yeah.
too much. Um,
Do people swim in that water?
No, I did not know. Yeah, I would not go in that water. I would
Well, I know
not
you
be.
wouldn't, but I'm
No,
saying,
I
do
would not
locals
be
swim?
there.
You didn't see any locals swimming in it?
No, no,
No.
um, no. I did not see any of that. And it's plus it'd be kind of dangerous. Just too much going on. Like if you're in a motorized boat, they're pretty organized. You can only go down this route this way, or you can't go that route at all. If you're in a gondola, you can go any route you want, any direction you want. It's not the same for the motorized boats, but still, I'd be a little nervous being in there. Plus, the water's pretty dirty because it's not that deep, and it's congested. So
Right. Yeah.
it's not a lot of water for how much congestion it has. So it's probably not the cleanest thing. So safety and dirty.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, locals are built different sometimes. You'll see like a river in India and you'll be like, I would never get in that water, but you see people swimming in it and bathing in it, and you're like,
Yeah, I
I
see
don't
it,
know,
man.
man.
I watch Seal, that guy Seal, and
Yeah.
yeah, he does some crazy stuff. Yeah, Seal on tour. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I know him.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
oh, yeah, it's pretty cool. I like his stuff, but you see that on there, and you're just like, wow, like
Yeah.
yeah, I envy him sometimes.
I mean, even the Hudson River, I've seen people swimming in the Hudson River and I'm like, I
I
wouldn't
I,
swim in the
I
Hudson
have
River either.
seen that. And that is
Yeah.
pretty dirty, and it's deep, man. Hudson River is like 400 feet in some
Oh
parts.
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
very deep. Um, but no, I've actually seen that too, but I didn't see anything like that, in the canals. But yeah, and you have the Grand Canal, and then you have all the other smaller ones too. But that's and Venice is pretty very walkable. I mean, it's bigger than you think it is. It could take you like an hour to walk to the other side. I mean, it's going to take a little more. Um, I found it to be the least crowded of the three, which is cool. Still a lot of walking. Like I said too, we were only there 2 days. The hotel that we had was really cool because you could just open the door and I'm sorry, the window, and you just see the canal. It's just right in front of you, and it's gorgeous, man. And you just hear the water, and it's pretty cool. Um,
Yeah.
it's it's an experience. Um,
Yeah, I was just wondering about the motorized vehicles because to me, when I picture again, I picture Venice, I picture a couple on a romantic boat ride on a gondola with a guy
yeah,
rowing, and then I just picture a speedboat flying by, creating a wake, or I just didn't know how
right.
that worked.
So a lot of the times, the when you're on the small paths, um, on especially on a gondola, if there's something motorized, it's going to be going very, very, very slow. Very. Now,
Right.
if
No
you're in the
wake.
Grand Canal, if you're in the grand part, the wide part, they will be whizzing by you. Nothing crazy, but there is a little bit of a wake. So when the gondola ride that we did, when we got to the Grand Canal part, we did get a little bit of a wave going. But it was only that section. The rest of it wasn't like that at all. The rest of the gondola ride was tranquil, informative. The guy was telling us how like we were just passing Marco Polo's house, from the 1400s, and or I believe it was the 1400s. We passed a few different landmarks. I can't remember them all off the top of my head. I just remember Marco Polo being one of them. Um,
Hmm.
and yeah, it was really cool. The gondola was worth it. There's different prices you pay, depending on how long you want the ride to be. I believe our ride was close to an hour. Yeah, I was like $150, which I thought was kind of expensive. You could do the cheaper ones. I think there was one for like 80, one for 100, one for 150. But man, I've always wanted to do it, so I was going to go the full experience.
Yeah, that's one of those experiences you have to do. I feel
Yeah.
like the gondola in Venice is like the tuk tuk in Bangkok. It's like it's that
Uh-huh.
kind of thing, you
We did
know?
the tuk-tuk a couple times. Yeah, that was fun too.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like you got to do it.
Yeah, you definitely got to do it. That's where we were at too. When you're hopping onto the gondola too, you kind of just got to go for it. It is kind of a little sketchy for some people. My mom kind of had a little bit of a hard time getting into it at first. She was a little intimidated. You know, my daughter just hops right in. I just hop right in. But if you're not used to that, if you're kind of like a little unsure about the water,
You gotta commit.
Gotta
You fell off
commit.
a dock not that long ago.
Yeah, I
She
did.
fell off a
That wasn't
dock.
my fault, though.
That wasn't her fault, of course.
No.
No. My sister, like, shook the dock, and I was, like, on the edge. It was not my fault.
Were you drinking?
I was not.
Okay, well, that's worse.
Was it a lake? What was it? A lake, river?
Yeah,
A lake?
yeah,
Okay.
Lake Wiley here in South Carolina.
Oh, no
It's North
way.
Carolina.
It's both.
Oh, okay. So now, as far as the airport goes, take us through that because it's super interesting. And for people that may not know, you pull up to the airport on a boat, right?
Yeah, yeah, it was super cool. Yeah, but when we left, the same, not the same guy, but the same kind of boat, came and picked us up. Um, he parked right by our hotel, right by the dock. We got our luggage. He took everything onto the boat. We hopped on, and it was 30 minutes. I believe the bus takes 90, close to 80 or 90 minutes. Our boat took 30, 28, 30, which is nice. Um, and yeah, you're just speeding along. You get to see and take everything in. And when you pull up to the airport, it's kind of like it just doesn't make sense. I've been to the airport dozens of times, and it's not like that, you know? You hop right in, you hop right up to the dock, and you just wheel your stuff right into the airport. It was cool. It was cool.
Yeah,
Um,
that is
uh,
so interesting. I don't know that I would I mean, did you have any times where you had to, like, get your sea legs? Or, whatever that term is, where
I
you're like
felt it a tiny bit, but not bad. I mean, we the longest we were on the water was the gondola, so, it wasn't too bad. I did feel like getting off the gondola a little bit, but not much. You know, it wasn't too bad. I'm not that bad on water though. We've done Maui. We've done like chartered boat rides out in Maui, and wife got kind of sick. I was fine. I don't really it doesn't really affect me too much. Um, and it's not open sea. Most of it, at least, is not open sea. That's a big
Right.
difference.
sure.
So you're really not getting tossed around.
It's called disembarkment syndrome.
Oh, is that what it's called?
Yeah.
But
Oh,
what were you gonna mention?
St. Mark's Square in Venice, if you walk there, there's a lot of shopping around there. There's the big bridge by the canal, by the Grand Canal and all of that. A lot's going on. Um, in the square itself, it has we went and did the Cafe Florian, which I think 306 years old. It's the oldest continuously operating cafe in the world. So there are older
Wow.
cafes, but they were off and on, off and on. This is the oldest continuously operating, and they have perfected. You can tell they've been doing this for 300 years because they perfected everything. We went in, we got just coffees and pastries. You're paying for that. You're paying like $18 for a double shot cappuccino. It's very pricey, but you're sitting in history. I mean, it's unbelievable. And the pastries they bring out are some of those picturesque desserts you'll ever see in your entire life.
For pastry?
I don't even know what mine was even called. It was amazing. I don't know what my favorite. We had a lot of gelatos, a lot of
Mm.
gelato, and I would say that or let me think. Um, I would probably go with the gelatos. Even though it's not a pastry, that's probably some of my favorite desserts there were. Even the ones that weren't the greatest were still amazing, you know? And they don't give you huge portion sizes, so you can go and try like 2 a day even if you really wanted to. It's not that much. But anyway, the St. Mark's Square, I was gonna say we did the Cafe Florian, super worth it. And then bless you. And then after that, there's St. Mark's Bell Tower. So it's kind of like the Duomo where you go up, except if you don't like 468 stairs, because some people don't, it's the elevator. That's all you can do is the elevator. So the elevator, it's a large elevator, it takes up groups of people, and you're up there for I want to say 30 or 40 minutes, and you get to see all of Venice, and it is cool. It wasn't as picturesque as Florence. Um, it was still incredible though, and still way worth it. And you don't need to plan ahead of time. You can just get to it. We just booked it from my phone when we got to it, and then showed us the ticket. We were right in. I mean, it was pretty easy to get.
Nice.
Yeah, you don't have to do it ahead of time. But if you're older or can't walk very well, um, St. Mark's Bell Tower in Venice is a pretty cool thing to do. And very affordable. It was cheap.
Mhm.
Yeah. That's nice there's an option if you, don't wanna ruin your knees.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then also, I was going to mention too that I like I said, I didn't think the food in Venice matched overall Rome and Florence, especially if you some of the best places or some of the places you want to eat at are going to be right by the water, and those places just everyone goes there. They don't care to put enough effort in to make it a great food experience. So it's kind of
Mhm.
so. Um, but our last dinner there, the night before we left, we found a really cool spot. We made reservations. We looked for like an hour and a half on where we wanted to eat. We were in the hotel. We were resting up before we were going to head out that night, and found a really cool spot that all the locals that were commenting were pretty good. I don't even remember what it was called, but it was like a 13-14 minute walk from the hotel. Um, we walked there, which the walk is gorgeous. Just walking through the cobblestones and all. It just I loved it. I loved it. I love looking around, you know? Um, but upon getting to it, I mean, the food was just it was one of my favorite meals, if not my favorite meal in Italy. At the city that I thought had the worst food out of the 3, we all had the same thing because the other items we kind of weren't very recognizable for us. Um, so we all had lamb chops, asparagus, and roasted potatoes, and it was incredible. It was amazing. The food was amazing. The wine, the server was amazing. Um, he was really funny. He was really cool. Very talkative with us. Um, it was dark out. We were sitting outside these buildings in cobblestone that's so old, and around people that we loved, around good conversation, the food being amazing, the wine being perfect, uh, and it was emotional almost. It was emotional, like
Yeah.
Mhm.
it could not have been better. It could not have been
Yeah.
better. It
Yeah,
was
you
just,
painted a really good picture.
yeah, I'll never ever forget that moment. Being with my family, eating that food and having and laughing, and yeah, it was a good time. It was a really, really good way to end our trip, you know.
Right.
Uh
Yeah.
besides pulling up to the airport in a boat. That was pretty cool too.
Yeah, but that was your last, like, full night there?
That was our last full night. After that, we kinda just, um actually, you know what? After that, I ditched my family for for like an hour. I saw that there was a pub, nearby, and I wanted to grab an Aperol Spritz and just sit by the canal and just listen to the water. It's nighttime, you hear the water just sloshing, you're drinking Aperol Spritz sitting on the steps, and, the only other thing I can hear are local Italians speaking Italian to I have not a clue what they're saying. But they're also outside nearby, listening to the water and chatting, and it was just cool. I got to collect my thoughts. I had my Aperol Spritz, which was delicious. And then I just walked back to the hotel. We went to bed. Um, we had an early morning, so I didn't want to I didn't want to do too much. But it was a perfect ending to our chapter there.
Yeah, that's awesome. Sounds like you found a local spot to kinda hang out
Yeah,
on your last night.
that was kind of my goal.
Mhm.
And I think it was like a Wednesday or a Thursday. It was quite a few people there for a Wednesday or Thursday, but it was cool. A lot of times when you get a drink there, you just take it right outside. There's not a lot of seating in a lot of these places, so you just go
Mhm.
outside, sit down on the steps. That's what a lot of people do in Venice if they just drink wine or or a spritz or whatever, or coffee even if it's during the day, and they
Yeah.
use the canal steps to kind of have seats.
Yeah, well, so sounds like you had a awesome, amazing trip and you're looking forward to going back. Was Italy what you expected?
Everything and more. Yeah, I wasn't disappointed with anything really. Um, I'm 100% gonna be going back. We've done a lot of trips, we've been a lot of places. Um, Thailand was last year. I know you guys yeah, I know you went to Thailand. Um, uh, the difference here was the history part hit me harder. Maybe it's because that's where my family is originally from. I don't know.
Mhm.
And I felt like I could live here. I felt like this would be a good life. You know, the slower
Mhm.
lifestyle, the quality of food, the quality of life. I just thought like that was the first time I went outside of where I live, and I thought that I could be here tomorrow and be fine. You know, um,
Mhm.
I got a long list of places there that I'd like to visit. If I would have stayed an extra 3 days, there's actually see if I wrote that down at all. Um, there's a place outside of Florence. Uh, it's a coastal town, and I can't remember what it's called right now, but it's 5 towns, and it's not too far from Florence, and you could hike between each town. Cinque Terre, that's what it is. It's called Cinque Terre. Um, I would have
Mhm.
did that. I would have stayed 3 more days, and after Florence, I would have did Cinque Terre. I would have hiked between every town, stayed a couple of nights, and then went to Venice. Um, other than that, man, we had a great time. It was everything and more than I expected of it. The food was immaculate. The wine was I couldn't ask for better wine. Um,
Mhm.
everything everything was great.
Yeah.
And now I have an addiction to carbonated water. That's weird. I didn't expect that to happen, but it did happen. Oh, also, I'd like to say too, um, good tip. So you'll see that if you research Rome at all or Italy in general, they have a law that passed to where any business has to take cards, debit cards, credit cards, whatever. I use a credit card that doesn't do any fees, so I use the credit card for everything. But to know ahead of time, um, they do city taxes at hotels sometimes, city and local taxes, and
Mhm.
some of the hotels will only take cash for that tax. So have some of
Wow.
yours with you. Yeah, have some.
Mhm.
Also, the
Good tip.
bathroom. You have to pay for bathrooms there. So if you're out and about in Venice or Florence, I didn't experience this in Rome. I didn't have to, I guess. But in Florence and Venice, if you're out and about all day, you have to use the bathroom. You're going to find some public bathrooms not as abundant as ours, but you have to pay for them. Usually a euro or two by coin, but they'll have somebody working there if you don't have the €2 that can you hand the 10 or whatever. They'll give you the change for it and let you in. But you do have to pay cash to get into the bathrooms.
Mm.
Good
So
tip.
Yeah.
that's something to definitely consider too. I believe that I brought 250 euros. I came back with some. I didn't spend.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, but
Yeah, we
y-
typically do also. We always try to come back with at least some cash
yeah,
from there, you know?
yeah, for sure. I know you said the whole Thailand thing. We use cash the whole time there. Italy is very
Yeah.
different where every location you go to is going to take card. I believe it's a law. So, um, and also anything else. Another thing I want to say too is walking shoes. Wear them. Um, also Rome, especially, you're gonna have people walking around and they're going to try to gift you things. They're going to try to put a bracelet on you. They're going to try to give you something, a little handcrafted animal or
Yep.
something of that nature. They're going to be very friendly with you. They're going to try to force it into your hand. Do not take it. Walk away. No, thank you. Be nice. Smile.
Right.
You know, smile. Be nice.
Mhm.
Walk away from it. They're gonna gift it to you, and then they're going to demand money from you. It's a pretty common scam. I saw it happen to my mom. I tried warning her. She didn't listen. She's too she's too
Yeah.
nice. I get it. I'm like that too.
Yeah.
Um, and the only other scam I encountered at all, we didn't run into it, but I saw how it could play out. And a lot of artists they'll put, especially in Rome, they'll put artwork out and
Yeah,
on the
and then you
ground
step on it.
in a trafficked
Yeah.
area, foot traffic. And if you step on it, they're going to be very rude about it, and they're going to demand money from you. So be
Yeah.
very careful with that artwork. They're doing it on purpose. It's a purposeful thing for them to extort money out of tourists. You know, um,
Yeah.
so that
Wow.
Yeah,
this
there's another travel vlogger I watch, Kurt Katz. I don't know if you've ever seen him, but
so
he kinda did the same thing. They go up and they try to gift you something. They'll try to put a bracelet on your wrist or
yeah,
whatever, and he let them do it for the video, and he's like, "Oh, cool, man, thanks." And he starts to walk away, and they're like, "Hey, what are you doing? Like, my kids, they need money and blah
I
blah." And
did
he's
see
like, "No, you
that.
said it was a gift." And he got into an argument with this guy. It's
Where
interesting.
was he? You remember where he? I remember that. I don't remember where he
He may have been
was.
in Italy. I don't know. It was either Italy or France, probably.
Maybe it was one of the, yeah, maybe it was one of the two. Yeah, but I
Yeah,
know they do that a lot. I know that Egypt is pretty, pretty common for that kind of thing too.
yeah.
It's just something to watch out for. There's definitely a lot of nice people. Most people speak a little bit of English. I read that they don't. My experience was different. Most people knew enough, and they were pretty friendly to us. If you speak to somebody, they're pretty friendly. People
Hmm.
are very. I will say people are very blunt. They're very blunt. But friendly and helpful. We had no problems with anybody while we were there. Um, they might bump into you. Personal space isn't as important to them, um, but they don't mean anything by it. Just a different way of life.
Yeah, another you know, time where you have to kind of forget where you're from
Yes,
and pull yourself into the moment in that culture.
yes, you do. Yeah, not everybody values the same thing that we do, and not everything's going to be similar. You know, no matter where I go, I I realize that this place they do something better than we do. Let's figure out what that is. You know, uh,
Hmm.
And I think Italy is their way of life. Their food,
Yeah.
their way of life. They're slowing everything down. And I really do think that's why they live longer. You know, less stress. But
Yeah.
yeah, fantastic trip, and I'm 100% going to be going back.
Cool.
Yeah, excited for you.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, whenever you go back, you'll have to come back on, and we'll do a part two.
yeah, man, that'd be pretty cool. That'd be pretty cool.
Italy part dos.
Yeah. Oh, and I will say too, I love Spanish. I love the Spanish language. I know a good bit. I'm definitely not bilingual, but I know a good bit of Spanish, and I've always said that I love the language. Um, and it's been overtaken by Italian. The Italian language is just so it's beautiful. And the gestures, the passion in their words. It's
Uh-huh.
really, really cool just to sit there and just listen to the locals. Just listen to them talk. Listen to them talk on the phone. It's
Mhm.
really cool. They might sound mad sometimes because they're so passionate. It's not that. It's just that it's how they speak. I love it.
Right. Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, we're glad that you had such an awesome time and super grateful that you came on and shared your experience with us.
Yeah, I'm
Provided
glad.
a lot of detail, painted a great picture of Italy.
A lot of good tips too.
Yes.
Yeah, well, thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. I love being on. It was great.
All right. That was an awesome conversation with our guest, Anthony, on his time in Italy. Just so many tips.
Yeah, a
So
lot of
much.
tips, a lot of really good information. He did a really good job of, like you said, painting the picture. We've all seen the photos of Italy, and I think a lot of people think of it as like a one of those really like dream destinations. And he did a really good job of kind of talking about what it's really like to be there and really be in that place.
Yeah, totally agree. All right, everybody. Well, thanks so much for listening. That is it for this week. Let us know if you enjoyed this episode, if you found any tips useful. If you've been to Italy and experienced some of the scams that we talked about or stories like that, we'd love to hear from you. But with that, I'm going to plug our socials. We are Temporary Locals. We are on Spotify, YouTube, and Instagram, also Apple Podcasts. You can find Jared on Instagram at Rover_Stover and also on YouTube at Rover Stover. And I am Megan. I am on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and Facebook at Mego Goes Global. And with that,
I'm Jared.
and I'm Megan. Thanks for exploring with us.
And remember to be a local anywhere you go.
Bye.
Bye.